Welcome to Seven Trumpets Prepper, and today is the day after. The day after that great earthquake described in Revelation has taken place, and the trumpets have begun to sound. And behind me is what's left of most utility companies, and the telephone pole behind me has no wire hanging on it anymore. So you're left asking yourself a question: what am I going to do for my family for power? Well, the propane only lasts so long. The gasoline-powered engine and equipment that I have in the backyard is no longer with me because I ran out of gasoline, and my diesel has just diminished. So what am I going to do? Well, I have a solution for you. And that solution is wood gasification. Wood gas is an alternative fuel in a crisis situation where you can't have petroleum products such as gasoline and diesel. This setup that we're going to show you how to build today is the alternative. We'll show you all the components and everything, but using this system right here will get you the power you need in an emergency. For this project that we're working on, I'm going to need to recruit just a few more skills. I'm going to need an electrician and I'm going to need a fabricator, and I know just where to find both of them. So let's go get them.
All right, John, turn a little bit.
Young man, what are you doing?
Hey, Luke.
Hey, Luke.
Got him.
What you got little man doing?
We worked on the tractor, working on the steering here a little bit, look like.
I wondered where you were at the house. Doug, Scott, I need some help on something.
Well, I can work him into your therapy.
No, I'm good this week.
What is it now?
I want you to send me build a wood gasifier today.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Well, we had beans for lunch. We got plenty of gas.
No.
We can ride a fire. I mean, we can work this thing.
This one you actually fabricate.
Oh,
It's
well.
going to make wood gas, and I know you are working on fixing this tractor. If you'll help me build one for the generator, when we get done, I'll help you fab one up for the tractor. No
Okay.
more fuel.
Sound like a plan.
All right, let's
Hands
go.
up, let's go.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you the main setup, how this is, and then we're going to go to what you will need to get this project built from there. Number one is you have your heating unit. This 55-gallon drum is filled with wood, and it's heated up to above 451 degrees. That starts the wood in here charring and releasing the gas. That gas travels through this high temperature hose to a 40mm ammo can. That ammo can, we're going to show you how to fabricate it in a little while and the inner components. Keep in mind that we set that in a Rubbermaid tub to keep the water around and keep it cool, so it cools the gas as it goes through the transfer hose. What you put in that as filter media is cardboard chips for the larger filter component and shredded paper for the small media, and that catches any creosote and any of the stuff that might pass through with the gas. Then it comes to right here where we bleed off any excess and pre-carb it before it goes into the carburetor. Then once it goes into the carburetor, it mixes in, work through the air inlet in, and then is turned into power. And that concludes the main components in the setup. It's very simple to operate, and so let's get started with building it right now. Okay, now we're going to go over the components of the build. Of course, you're going to need a 55-gallon barrel. I don't have that setting up on the porch, but as you seen earlier, that's what we use for the old design also. The 55-gallon barrel is going to be your cooking unit. The boiler part of this build is going to be a 120mm ammo can. It's going to, whenever we cut the notch in the barrel, it's going to be in it at a slight angle. And what's going to happen is you'll have room left out here where your hose will come out of the hole that'll be cut. We'll demonstrate in a little while. And that'll go from your hose over to your filter box. And the great thing about the ammo can is it's easy to latch off, so whenever you go to put more wood in, leave one latched and let the other one pop open a little bit. Won't come off and fling and hit you in the face or nothing. It lets the pressure come off of it, which there shouldn't be much at all. And then you can take with your good leather gloves, open it up, throw some more lumber down in it. If you use like old heat treated pallets like I use, you can just shove a bunch down in there and burn that. Now, before I go any further with any of the other parts, you definitely need to pick this up. It is a CDN grill surface thermometer, and the model number is a GTS 800. The good thing about this is you need to get your wood gas up to 451 degrees to be cooking, and this right in the middle of the gauge. Since it goes up to 800, you know when you hit the middle of the gauge you're right where you need to be. So that's a good thing about this. And you can lay it on this and take it off. It has the handle where you can easily move it and not get burnt, and take it with you. It's portable and don't have to leave it in the weather. Now you're going to need some pipe clamps. You're going to need, they are 2 1/4 inch down to 1 5/16 of an inch for 2 times. You're going to need, I'll come back to the hose in a minute because I want to give you the website. You're going to need a Lenox 2-inch hole saw. Now this is for metal cutting. This is bi-metal, so wood or metal. Don't get the wood one or you'll tear up the tip on it and you'll be out a lot of money. And make sure to get it with the bit already in it, because they do sell these with just the hole saw portion for an adapter. Okay, next you're going to need a 1/2 inch barb to a 1/2 inch thread. Okay, so that's for your hose. Now on the generator part, I'll show you all the fittings for it later. You're going to need an 1.5 inch threaded pipe that is 6 inches long and one that is 3 inches long, one each. You're going to need some high temperature red RTV silicone. Do not buy any other. It has to be the high temp. If you don't get the high temp, you're going to fail this project immediately. At Napa, the part number is 81160. It's the best stuff on the market. As far as tool wise, you're going to need a tape measure, crescent wrench, some good leather gloves, some just regular cotton gloves, 2 cut-off wheels, a 1/2 inch drill bit, because we're going to have to take the drill bit and kind of waller the hole out just a little bit for the 1/2 inch nipple. You're going to need a good protective shield and safety glasses, because you're going to have to use the grinder. You'll need a 1/2 inch angle grinder and a regular grinder wheel too, just to knock off any burrs on stuff. You're going to need some kind of expanded type metal, or just some kind of metal that has holes through it, as long as they're at least like 1/4 inch, just to let gas get through. Because what you're going to do is when you put your cardboard chips in this, or your wood chips as filter unit, you're going to have to keep something on top of that to keep them level in place. And you'll need to cut this approximately 17 inches long. And what that will do in your projectile box here is when you lay that down in there, that'll give you a good steep angle, and you can cut it at a shorter angle if you want to pack even more filter media in it. But that way, when the inlet comes in here, the liquid will stay in the bottom and the gas will come up and out your 1/2 inch nipple to your generator. Now this projectile box right here is a 40 millimeter, I believe, is the ammunition that was used in this. You can also use a 50 millimeter or 50 cal ammo can, but the only thing about that is you probably have to change the media very rapidly in it. So I encourage you to use the 40 millimeter. It's a little harder to come by, but just make sure and check your local Army surplus, because the lid on it is like the 120. It comes off very easy. You won't have to get your hands really nasty. You just take, and you can take you some grippies, reach down there, get your grate off, dump it, put you some new media down in it, set that back on it, lock the lid in place, and you're back in business. The great thing about this is it can be, everything is rapid. You can undo it and tear this whole unit down into about 3 to 4 pieces. Okay, now as far as the hose goes, from the 120 millimeter can to the 40 millimeter can, I got this from PegasusAutoRacingSupplies.com. The part number in the catalog was 3631-2.00-6 foot, and it cost me about $60 to get it shipped to me, and that's buying the part too. This is the most expensive part in the build, and it is the most crucial part in the build, because if you lose gasification between the big boiler down to the filter box, you're pretty much spent. Other than the RTV silicone, these two things are critical to make sure you get right, because if you have any leaks in the system, you're losing power production. So that's the hose part. And the last tool you'll need for this job is a welder. because once your hole saw cuts the hole through for your tubing, you'll need to weld it in place, and we'll show you how to set the threads and everything later so you can weld that. Now if you find a 1 inch and 7/8 hole saw, you might be able to cut it a little undersized fillet so you can just screw your threads in, but we're going to weld ours so that it'll stay good in place. We're using a Lincoln Electric. This is a Weld Pack 100. Now if you don't own a welder, don't give up on this project right now. You can either do the 1 inch and 7/8 like I said with the hole saw and file it out, or you can go to a weld shop and have them weld the 3 places that you'll need welded on, or I'm sorry, just the 2 places you'll need welded on your project, and then you can go from there with it on your own. The model that I used is a Craftsman. It's a 2500 watt generator, and the filter box at the top, the only thing that was modified on the generator was I just took the filter box at the top and I took a 1/2 inch nipple to 1/2 inch pipe thread, and I took a Dremel tool and drilled it out there. And like I said, you can take that 1/2 inch bit and just waller that out also. This is 1/2 inch high temperature tubing. You can get it at a hose shop or like Napa or somewhere. I got 6 foot of this. As we zoom in on this part right here, I come up enough distance. This is like 3 foot of hose I cut. I come over here to another 1/2 inch nipple to 1/2 inch thread. Now I will put all the components and everything I'm showing in this build on the video description also. If you miss any of this, there'll be a complete spec sheet. I've got a 1/2 inch T, a 1/2 inch thread to thread nipple. I have a 1/2 inch ball valve that is female on both ends, a 1/2 inch thread to 1/2 inch nipple on the outlet, and then about 1 foot of hose, and that is to pre-carb the gas before it actually goes into my carburetor. Now on the other side of the T, it is threaded, so I come out to a 1/2 inch union and then to a 1/2 inch thread to 1/2 inch nipple. And the reason I done that, I've got like, I don't know, 3 foot of hose coming off it, is that if I want to leave my hose on my filter box and undo this and move the generator somewhere else, if I've got it in a dry place, I can, and that's what the union's for. Just give me just a second to undo this here. See, then all I've got is that, and the generator can go and the hose can stay. Or you can take the hose with you. It's either or, you know, it's just how you want to store it. So that was an alternate option right there. If you want to just come out of the T to a thread, you can do that and then go to your hose, and then you can pull the hose off of the filter box and just wrap it around the generator. Now we'll get to actually putting the parts one at a time onto the unit and assembling the whole thing together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with our build is our team fabricator here, and you at home are going to take your tape measure and you're going to measure from the base of your 120 millimeter ammo can to 23.5. Now we went just a little shy of 23.5 because I still want my handle right here to come down on the ammo can, but if you want to come up just a little further to keep the hose from your barrel, that'd be a lot better, and so that your handle will still be up a little bit. And you're going to put your hole saw on it, your bimetal hole saw, and you're going to drill this out. I'm going to get out of our fabricator's way here while he's doing that. And you want to cut that clean straight through. Okay, now once that we've got this cleared through, you want to take, if you have gotten a little bit off, you might want to take you a file and smooth the inside of that just a little bit so that your threads will take in good. Okay. Now you want to take your pipe that is 1.5 inches pipe, it's 6 inches long, and you want to insert that into it. Now at this point is where we're going to make sure that there was clearance for it, and that hole saw should have gave us plenty of clearance. And now what we're going to do is we're going to fire up the welder and we're going to tack weld this into place, and then we're going to go run a full bead around this, and that will seal this can back up so that the only outlet now is this out this end right here. Okay, now right before our team fabricator starts to weld it, I'm going to prep the outside surface where that he can get a good bead around that, so we're going to do that right now. Okay, now that we've got a good surface for the welding, we'll take our 6-inch piece, and I know a minute ago when we said the thread on it, you might be asking, well, why in the world are you worried about the thread if the hole's bigger than the threads? Well, the thread is going to be used to sit right there and be a seat against that to hold that pipe good in place while he starts the weld, and then the back side back here will be easily closed up once he's tacked this into place. So we'll do that now.
Now we're going to weld this. Now please remember all the safety precautions when you're welding. Wear your welding helmet, your welding sleeves, and your gloves, because it does get hot. Now remember, now when welding on painted metal like this is, you might want to take the time to grind the bare metal spot off where you're going to hook your ground up to, so it will ground out. So here we go. Eyeball. Okay, now here on this 120 mil can that we've got welded up, I ran a bead around this the 6-inch pipe and got it sealed up and grinded off. Now we're ready to go and show you how to get the filter box ready to go.
Okay, now we're going to take our hole saw again. We're going to come up about 3.5 inches from the bottom of our 40 millimeter can. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us enough space that when this thing is upright and in operation, that you'll have a good fill line that can be filled up with the liquid that'll come off as a byproduct before you will have to actually empty the thing. So that should give you plenty of product before you're up to your fill line. So now we're going to drill that hole through and get us a spot where we can weld our another one. Okay, now we've cut through that. We're going to rotate our box over, and on the other side, so that we don't get confused, we went from the bottom on this side. So on this side here, right up here at the peak where it comes to the top, we're going to drill our 1/2-inch hole out and work that out now so that we can get our 1/2-inch fitting in there, and the gas that comes through the filter will come out there now. Okay, now that we've drilled our 1/2-inch hole, this barb is just a little bit over 1/2 inch. So now what we've done, and I forgot to mention it earlier in your tools that you'll need, you might want to file for this. It's not necessary, but you just might want to bring it in for a real fine file. And you want to file any burr that's on the inside of that ammo can right there, just a little bit. And we're going to take this fitting, put it right there, and knock it through with a hammer, and the tension on it will keep it in place, and we'll put some red RTV silicone around that. Now there's an alternative. You could just have somebody, if you're getting somebody to weld this for you, or you could do it yourself, is just clean this metal off, weld you a 1/2-inch female end there, and then just screw this fitting in. We're not going to do that. We're just going to knock that through on the ammo can and be done with it. It's just less welding. So we're going to knock that through, and then you'll see how it looks.
Okay. Before you start welding, make sure you have your thread seated about 3/4 of the way down in there, and have it pushed to one side so it'll make it a little easier to tack. So here we go. Okay, now that we got this 40 miller can, our filter can welded up, I run a bead all the way around it and got her tacked up and ready to go to save the hose.
Okay, so now we have got the welding process complete thanks to our fabricator, and we have the inlet to the filter box welded in place, and we have the outlet from the boiler box done. We've hammered in our brass outlet to the gas generator, and it's in place snug. We'll put the RTV around the inside of that and the outside, and then scrape it clean once that we've figured out exactly where our hose will butt up, and then we will be done with this portion of the build. Hallelujah. Finally quit raining.
Now we got the tarp down, let's go back to work.
I'm all for it. Let's get going. Okay, so now we're to the part in the build where it's very critical that we get a few things right here and sealed up. Now Scott's going to explain that to you, what we've done here.
Alright, on the 6-inch piece of 1.5-inch pipe that I welded to the 120 millimeter can, do not put no RTV hose sealant on this unless you absolutely have to. Due to the fact that way the reason why we use a 6-inch hose piece of pipe to attach our hose to is that way as the cans wear out, we can cut it off and re-weld it. Cut it off and re-weld it until we ain't got none. So you just take the hose and just slide on there and put a 1.5" clamp to a 2" clamp on it, tighten it down until it seals up. Then we're going to take the can. After our first use it, we done it. The seals are in good shape. We can use this for multiple times from now on for usage. Now we'll cut the hole close to 7.5 by 11.5. Okay, we cut a hole inside the barrel so we have an access point. Also, the fire can draw air in from the bottom. You just want to set it in there. The hole's going right over here to our filter can. And here we have just a piece of spanded metal cut down to fit inside the can at an angle with our media, which is shredded paper and pieces of cardboard. You just hose down the filter mill.
Now keep in mind we put this in a Rubbermaid tub to cool this. We don't have it out here at the moment, but you just take your Rubbermaid tub and water, and that keeps this unit cool as it transfers over. Now Doug is going to show you the electronics and how this is going to work with the gas.
Alright folks, what we got here is your basic 5-horse generator, 2500 watt. Got the gas line running from the ammo box down here to your main gas lines. What you want to do before you start is to pre-carb it, get any of that creosote and whatnot you can out so it can flow back into the tube here. Got here is your the air filter mechanism. Take this off right here. The gas lines on this are already clogged up, so there's no gas flowing through. The gas flows through the tube down here straight into the engine block there. And you want to keep some carburetor cleaner around, that way you can spray in and clean up, make sure your plugs don't get fouled out, make sure it all stays clean and pure. Then when you put this, you get this on there good and tight, and it should light and crank and run purely off the gas from the wood.
One thing to keep in mind is the first time we used this, we got the ammo can a little too hot, and that's why we swapped to the Rubbermaid tub, cooling it down. And the thing is, you don't want to get too excited whenever you're starting this up and go to pulling right away, because it takes a moment for the gas to get started transferring. And another thing is you don't want to get your gas too hot, because if it gets in too much of a vapor and doesn't stay in that cloud form, it won't be thick enough to actually compress and start up. So just a few things to keep in mind. It's trial and error as you start. This is not something you just slap together and it goes in a heartbeat. Just be patient with it and you'll get it nailed. Man, that's a great load of wood, buddy. What in the world took you so long?
I stopped off at the pool.
Oh, well that figures. Let's get this going.
Oh no, sir. No. I do believe somebody made a tractor promise.
Yeah, Dad, right?
About that. Yeah, I'll get right on that in just a minute.
Yes.
In the meantime, I hope this has been a help to you, and one day this might come in very handy in a crisis situation. Power is very important to have. Until next time, I'm Luke.
I'm Doug.
I'm Scott.
I'm Jonathan.
And we hope you have a most blessed day in Yahushua name.